Hey guys, Christina Ricci. If you want more pars and better ball striking, then this series is for you. This is going to be a really focused series on maintaining your angles during the downswing. Specifically, our trail hand wrist hinge and our trail arm bend. A lot of players lose this really early during the downswing, and that creates havoc on your ball striking. You top it, chunk it, slice it, pull it, no good. So we're going to change that with this series. Now I'm going to give snippets here on YouTube, but then head over to morepars.tv if you want to watch the full enchilada. I cover everything from assessments, setup, all the way through impact, and all the possible reasons why you're losing your angles, specifically the trail arm and wrist angle. So if you really want change in your game, you got to understand that golf is cause and effect. What's causing you to lose your angles? All right, it's not just about let me give you some feels and cues to help you maintain your angles, because if it doesn't address the true cause, it's not going to change. For example, it could be as simple as your alignment. You could be aimed dead right. No matter what I tell you, what cue I give you to try to get that arm structure in front so you can maintain your angles, you're going to lose it because your body's smart. Oh my God, I didn't aim dead right. I got to pull it across to try to redirect it. All right, so no matter what I tell you here on this tip, it's not going to change a thing.
So, Jim, where did you think you were aimed? Oh, look at that.
It's important that you understand that. You got to find out the true cause of the situation. That's why I always recommend working with a golf professional. All right, so this tip is going to give you some cues and feels to help you get that arm structure in front, maintain your angles, but if you want to dive deep and really understand the whys and the possible causes, head over to morepars.tv, my streaming channel. So you ready to get to that tip? Let's do it. All right, so the first thing we're going to do to help you maintain your angles, trail hand wrist hinge, trail arm bend, deep into the downswing, is to make sure you can physically do it. All right, your equipment is important, yes, but you are the equipment.
Your pelvis might be out of alignment. Do you see a chiropractor?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it looks a little elevated. If your pelvis is elevated, here, lie down. Yep, this leg is longer. You live in Albany? Albany?
All right, we're going to do a series of assessments to identify if you have any limitations. And if you do, then you work with someone, a fitness professional, a PT, chiropractor, to help resolve the situation. All right, your equipment is important, but you are the equipment. So if you're trying to achieve something and you physically can't do it, you need to know, and your golf professional needs to know as well. All right, so let's get to the assessments. We're going to assess your wrists first. Can you physically hinge your wrists? All right, so here's the assessment. Super easy. Extend your arm straight out. Flex, extend. Flex, extend. All right, we're looking for a particular range of motion. All right, you can see that this one is limited. All right, this one has a little bit more range of motion. All right, and typically, the good news is it's more the trail hand wrist hinge, so I have plenty of range of motion here. This one's a little tight just because the forearm's a little tight. All right, so if you find that you're tight, say you're limited here and you can only go to here, go ahead and take your finger and dive in here, because I guarantee your forearm's tight. So put pressure on where it's super tender and then go ahead and rotate your forearm just like that. All right, and just doing this up and down is nice too. All right, then you can use your other hand as an assistant to pull it down gently. All right, so you're just using this hand and guiding the hand down. All right, grab it at the wrist here and just pull it down. All right, so can you physically do that? Can you hold the pizza tray? Pepperoni pizza, anybody? All right, so now that we've done the trail hand wrist, let's tackle the shoulder. All right, can you externally. This is external, this is internal. External, internal. Can you externally rotate this shoulder and get this arm structure in front? Or do you feel a restriction? All right, players that don't have a good range of motion, we're going to do the assessment in a second, all right, will tend to have this action. All right, so can you physically get this arm in front? So the first assessment is this. Can you literally get this elbow joint to lead the way in front of your torso? Can you do that? All right, assessment number 2, go ahead and get into a hip hinge, extend your arm straight out, bend it at 90 degrees, and then can you rotate the shoulder in its socket with your arm straight? This would be cheating. And get it to at least your ear. All right, if you can only go to here, you're limited. All right, you're most likely going to have this action at the top of your swing, and it's going to be hard for you to get that arm structure in front. All right, so I'll offer some tips for you with that limitation in this series. All right, the next assessment, can you hip hinge? Because part of getting this arm structure in front of your body is being able to stay in your posture, engage your butt, clear your lead side. All right, where players go off is they don't have a hip hinge. They get into their posture with their knees, and then they're just in the way. They can't use their lower body. So if you don't hip hinge, instead you crack your knees and get into your posture like this, you're not going to be able to get your arm structure in front. You're most likely going to lose your angles, right? Most definitely. I can say that with confidence, all right? So we really need you to get into a hip hinge, all right? And how you do it is just grab a club and place it on your hips, all right? And then go ahead and, with straight knees and a straight back, push your hips back. Make sure your lower back is in neutral, not excessively arched. All right, so squeeze your butt so that drops your tailbone, and that's a hip hinge, and that creates forward bend and flexion. Hip flexion and forward bend, okay? Players that stand super tall at setup and don't get into a deep enough hip hinge, say they're up here, all right, will most likely lose their angles, because the taller you are, so say you get to the top of your swing and you stay tall, all right, you have to hit the ball, so you're going to have to throw the club to get the club to the ball, because you're up here, you don't have enough forward bend. Remember, the ball's down there. If this was baseball and the ball was up here, we'd be fine standing up, but because the ball's down there, we have to add a hip hinge, and then we have to stay in that hip hinge and forward bend throughout the swing. All right, and if you're a player that doesn't get into a good hip hinge, or you stand too tall at setup, you're most likely going to lose those angles. All right, so the assessment is, can you hip hinge? Put the club on your hips, send your hips back, just crack the knees. All right, make sure your back is in neutral. All right, can you do that without any excessive pain, either in your hamstrings or your lower back? If you feel like there's an instability low, like L5 area, in this area, when you try to do the hip hinge, that means you're out of alignment down there. All right, you may have some disc issues, maybe you already know about that, or your L5, 4, 3 are out of position, push forward sometimes. So make sure you see a chiropractor. I'll leave the link below to find a CCEP. That's what you want. Those are the best for golfers. All right, another important assessment, can you side bend? All right, so the assessment is, can you side bend? All right, slide your hand down your thigh, and can you get to your knee, staying in line with yourself, so in other words, not going forward or backwards, without any impingement feeling in your spine or anywhere else. And can you do that? All right, do the trail side and then do the lead side. All right, so here I am limited. See the difference? I can only go to here before I start to feel some limitation right here in my muscles. There's a little kink here. All right, and that's coming from my spine. I have a little curve in my spine that causes that. All right, but the good news is it's the trail side where we need the side bend in the downswing. All right, so here we go. If we have good range of motion and a good hip hinge, bang, and then we rotate into our downswing by engaging the butt so we can clear the hips. Now here's our side bend. All right, can you maintain your forward bend and then rotate? All right, that's a key move that a lot of players are missing. They are missing forward bend and side bend. All right, side bend. That is the magic move right there, where players go off as they get to the top and they don't have any side bend and they go this way. All right, they stand up, they early extend with their hips and their torso. They have zero side bend, so side bend with rotation. All right, it's not just side bend. All right, I see a lot of players doing this too. They get to the top and they add side bend and they go like this. All right, and you'll hit behind it. Instead, we want to have side bend with rotation. There's a big difference, side bend with rotation. All right, so you can focus on this shoulder rotating right around you, right under your chin. Side bend with rotation. All right, so you need to physically know if you can achieve at least hand to your knee. All right, then you'll have enough to be able to do it. All right, if you can only go to here, you just won't go as deep with your forward bend and side bend. You'll just be taller up here. All right, important point to understand what your body is capable of doing. Do you have any limitations? So if you were limited in any one of those assessments, work with a fitness professional or a PT or a chiropractor and get that resolved. If you can't get it resolved, I'll have some workarounds for you throughout the series. Come to camp, learn new skills, meet new pals, and yep, get more pies.